Hey everybody, how's it going? I hope you're having a lovely day. So today I would like to talk about boundaries, and I'd like to talk about things you probably shouldn't do. So oftentimes I would get letters at my store, and sometimes I'd really enjoy reading them. One of my favorite ones I'm never going to forget was from Tim Herman about 5.5 years ago when he was 16 years old, and he said he wanted to start fixing MacBooks because of what he saw in my videos, and he started a little business for himself. And now he's probably better at it than I am. Like, he is better at it than I am, and I'm really proud of him. And sometimes I would read these letters on stream. Sometimes, if they were too personal, I wouldn't. But I always read the letters that I got, unless they were manifestos. Manifesto means you've written me like a 50-page thing. That literally just goes in the shredder. But if it's like a 1 or 2 page letter, I'll usually read it. And that's fine, because that is a public address. It's literally advertised in the description of all my board repair videos, so that's fine. Every now and then I would get something to my apartment. That was weird, because I've never published the address to my apartment. So it's just kind of weird when I would get stuff there. Now, to be clear, 5 or 10 minutes of research and you'll figure out where my old apartment is. And that was never something that really bothered me, because that apartment was in a neighborhood that had frequent stabbings, shootings, all sorts of crime, fights in the street, crackheads walking around, like just rambling around. So, I'm used to it. I've lived in New York City for 33 years, so I kind of know how to carry myself and handle myself, and I'm not really out of place. But the average socially awkward, a little bit Asperger's-y person that's a little too frisky to meet me in person, that waits outside my store until we close to see if they'll see me leaving. That type of person, I just know if they spend 10 minutes on my front steps in that neighborhood, they would have pissed themselves. I mean, it's better now than it was, when I first moved there, but still, that type of person, they're going to be out of place. They're going to seem out of place, and they're going to want to run the fuck back home. So I never really thought of it as a problem, and it didn't really happen much. When I went to check the mail today, I got a letter in the mail, and it's from a fan on YouTube. And this is in New Hampshire, and there's a reason that this is a problem. This is a very nice letter. I want to be clear. The language in this letter is very kind, it's very polite, it's very cordial, it's very welcoming. There's nothing inside of this letter itself that is wrong. The one thing that is wrong about this is the implication in the letter. The implication in the letter, not the text of the letter, but the implication of it is, I know where you live. Not only do I know where you live, but I know where you live without you announcing it, without you telling anybody what your address is, and before you actually finished registering everything with the state. So I can't even look up where I live in this state if I wanted to via white pages or anything else, because I'm still in the process of doing the paperwork necessary for my address to be here rather than in New York City. So there's really not an easy way to figure out where I live unless you've followed me home. And you probably see where I'm going here. So there was a bike video I did about a year and a half ago, and there was a person whose name I don't want to mention who shows up in the chat from time to time who, was gotten a little bit too familiar, and he decided, I'm going to follow you home. Like, it'll be a meme. Like, I'll laugh and go, and make these little noises. And I said, like, I don't want you following me home. And he just keeps doing it. And with this big smirk, and I eventually stopped my bike and I said, you need to not do this. And he's, why? And I go, because those people across the street are police and I'm going to get in trouble. And he goes, why would you get in trouble? And I said, because if you keep following me, I'm going to do something to you that's going to get me arrested. You need to stop following me. And he stopped and he decided to ride in the other direction and leave me alone. The only way, when my information has not been registered properly throughout all of these systems, to figure out that I live here would be if you were to follow me. And see, that's the implication with this. And that's what makes this so wrong. Because, like, see, all the stuff in here that's actually kind of nice, it actually goes out the window when you consider that that's the underlying implication here. There's really no other way at this point in time to know where I live. And sometimes I do these streams, or I'm driving from one place to another, or this or that, and I usually turn it off before I get to around this area. And like, if somebody's really digging and really watching every single effing second, they could probably try and figure out, okay, I'm going to be at this place at this time, and when I say this, see this white electric car, which, let's face it, there's not a lot of them here, I will come here at this time. That's really one of the only ways that you're going to figure that out. And that's the implication in this letter. And that's the reason that all of the stuff in here, while very nice and probably well-meaning stuff, no longer matters at all. The implication present in the fact that this letter was able to make its way to my mailbox with my address written on it with my name is really, it just eclipses everything that's in the letter. And it's one of those things that I think is worth pointing out, because there may be people out there that have that level of social awkwardness that may not understand how they're coming off to others when they send things like that. Whether it's to somebody that has a larger Twitter following or a large Instagram or anything else like that. When somebody moves 300 miles to the middle of nowhere to a very tiny town, the implication there is that they're looking to be left alone, not have people follow them to figure out where they live. Does that make sense? You follow? You kind of understand? And there's one thing that I'm learning from this experience as well. I remember taking a martial arts class 2 years ago and enjoying it, even though I wasn't really that great at it. But I enjoyed the process. And Eli, the computer guy, was saying this. He said, if you get more popular, you should do this, that, and consider these things. And I've honestly kind of put it off. I've always been saying I want to take a firearm safety course. I would like to purchase a firearm, learn how to use a firearm. And honestly, that's been really far on my list. But if this is the reality that I now live in, if the reality is, like, again, just random people that I don't know from my comment section going out of their way to follow me to figure out where I live, I think it's time that I stop procrastinating that and put that on my list as, like, the first thing to do, like the moment I wake up in the morning, kind of thing. Because again, in my opinion, you can tell me if you think I'm overreacting. I don't think this is okay. I don't think this is okay. And ultimately, the part of this that I find more ironic than anything else is it says, on a final note, if you feel some need to share any of this letter, please anonymize it, because somebody values their privacy, but doesn't seem to understand why I would value mine. That's it for today. And as always, I hope you learned something. I'll see you all in the next video. Bye now.